While an interest rate hike is a possibility given the risks to the inflation outlook, the consensus view is that the Reserve Bank will again keep rates unchanged. Supporting this view is the recent lower inflation rate, with the last reading at 4.7% for July. Short-term inflation expectations are also promising a further downward trajectory. Upside risks to inflation, however, remain, presented by the continued load shedding, petrol price increases, as well as the weak rand-dollar exchange rate.
The outcome of the Bureau for Economic Research Inflation Expectations survey, which showed a sharp decline in expectations of what inflation will do. And that's the first time these are quarterly surveys, it's the first time in 2 years that we've actually had the inflation expectations coming down rather than up. They came down from 6.5% to 6.1%. So they're moving in the right direction. And the Reserve Bank for many months now has been saying that it is focusing on those inflation expectations because if they're too high, then that feeds through into making it more difficult to bring down inflation and therefore necessitates higher interest rates.
Statistics South Africa is expected to release the Consumer Price Index for August this week. It's expected to come out at about 4.8% year-on-year. Food inflation is projected to have moderated further.
The rate of inflation has already peaked and is now on a downward trajectory. However, I should stress that when inflation goes lower than what it was before, it does not mean that prices decline. It simply means that prices increase at a slower rate than before. But my expectation is that we will see a continuous downward trend in the historic rate of inflation, and that will have a positive knock-on effect onto inflation expectations. And as soon as we see lower inflation expectations, the Reserve Bank can start to consider lower interest rates in South Africa. However, it seems to me that our inflation expectations are still very high, and therefore my expectation is that the MPC will keep rates at their current level.
It's expected the current higher interest rate environment will remain in place for some time as a result of the risk to the inflation outlook. Gloria Safakomosi, SABC News, Johannesburg.